Welcome to Blooming Wildwood Homestead. This has been a wonderful past couple of months as I've been participating in the Pantry Challenge. As the Pantry Challenge is drawing to a close, I thought this would be a great time to go over some of the lessons that I've learned as I've been going through this process. I wanted to share these with you today as hopefully they give you something to think about, either as you're thinking about participating in a challenge or just as you're thinking about how you can use your pantry and what might be involved in that. The first lesson that I have learned is that eating from the pantry is something that needs to happen on a regular basis. Going into this year, I think I had made a lot of good strides as far as trying to use my pantry in a better way and trying to cook more from scratch and eat from the pantry in general. As I went through the challenge, it did help me just to be very intentional about my purpose for why I was doing certain things, and it helped me to realize that I really want to be eating from the pantry during the winter time, and then of course incorporating as much fresh produce as I can during the summertime so that I am eating more of what's produced here and relying on outside sources much less. When I focus on eating from the pantry on a regular basis, it helps me to rotate through any stock that I have, whether that is items that I've purchased from the store or items that I have canned or frozen, preserved in some way or another. And so making a conscious effort to really focus on using those items helps to make sure that everything is rotating properly and that I don't end up with outdated items as I have had happen in the past. Eating from the pantry instead of purchasing from the store each week also allows me to kind of utilize that rotation in a way that I can maximize my grocery budget and save money in the long run. And we'll talk about that a little bit more on one of my future points. This week I was craving some oatmeal bread and decided to go ahead and make some. It's been quite a while since I have made oatmeal bread, as I've been kind of on the sourdough artisan bread kick, but this was definitely well worth the time that went into it. The oatmeal bread recipe comes from the More with Less cookbook, and I will link to that cookbook in the description below. The next thing I learned from the Pantry Challenge is that cooking from scratch is a skill, and it's something that can be developed over time and something that you can continue to play with and really improve and hone in on. I've always enjoyed cooking, but I am definitely someone who is really tied to recipes and wanting to follow recipes exactly. During this Pantry Challenge, I wanted to be a little bit more adventurous and less structured in the way that I am cooking. So I tried to do a little bit more of just kind of dump and go meals, or not measuring every single thing out and trying to eyeball things just a little bit more. I feel like it can add a little bit of creativity and helps me to not be so rigid and tied to certain things. When I am really strict about following recipes or really tied to that type of cooking, it causes me to feel like I can't make something if I don't have a particular ingredient. And so I just wanted to be more flexible in my cooking, flexible in my thinking, making substitutions as I needed to if I didn't have a particular thing, or If I didn't have an exact item, what could I use? Maybe a spice blend or something else in its place. And so during this pantry challenge, it did help me to become just a little bit more flexible in my thinking when it came to cooking from scratch. And this is definitely something that you can get better at as you continue to practice. And when you engage in a pantry challenge and you're really focusing on using items from the pantry, it does cause you to look at cooking in a different way, and rather than thinking about what it is that you want and going to the store to buy those ingredients, you're looking at what you have available and then making a meal from what you have available. It's really easy to kind of get in that trap of thinking that you have nothing to eat when you have a lot of ingredients. You just have to think outside of the box and play around with some different things, but you can really make a great meal by cooking from scratch. Another thing I learned during this pantry challenge is that I have particular things that I tend to gravitate to and use up on a regular basis. I have certain flavors that I really enjoy, and so it helped me to identify things that I am prone to use more of, as well as things that sometimes I will forget about just because they're not at the top of my mind. And so it helps me to think about how I could utilize some of those things as well. And so it just helps to give some perspective to what I need to be putting on the shelf that's going to be most useful. Another thing I learned from the pantry challenge is that it can save me money because I'm not going to the store on a regular basis and purchasing impulse buys or junk. I am also not going out to eat as much because I really am focusing on using things from the pantry. And so both of those things end up saving money. When I'm eating from the pantry, I can intentionally use the money for other things from my grocery budget. So rather than just purchasing a bunch of random things or ingredients that I might use only once or twice, when I am eating from the pantry, it frees up that grocery budget to be able to purchase items that are on sale, or to buy some things in bulk that would make sense for me to buy in bulk. And so you can really kind of shift that money around. So you have to restock the pantry in order to eat from the pantry. It's not like there's going to be an endless supply of food that just miraculously appears in your pantry. However, you can be very intentional about how you are stocking and restocking your pantry. And when you are doing things with that level of intentionality, it can stretch your dollar out further. I don't want to just buy things that I'm not going to use, which is where the challenge came in really handy to see kind of where I am using different items, but I want to be able to get them as inexpensively as possible. And so it allows me to kind of shift things around in the budget to maximize where my dollars are going. And finally, the last lesson I learned from this pantry challenge is that it can be really helpful to do things in community. So even though I am trying to eat from the pantry on a regular basis, specifically setting aside a couple of months to intentionally do a pantry challenge and knowing that other people were doing the same thing, it's been really nice to see what other people are doing, get ideas from different people, and just to know that there are many out there who are doing similar things. So having that sense of community can be a real encouragement as you are trying to build up your skills and build up your pantry and going through that process. Even though this pantry challenge is officially coming to an end, let me know in the comments below if you would enjoy continuing to see different meals throughout the course of the weeks. It could be things that I'm fixing that are growing in the garden, or continuing to see pantry meals depending on what time of year it is. But if you would enjoy seeing a what's for breakfast or what's for dinner kind of video, let me know in the comments below, and that's definitely something that we could continue to keep in our rotation throughout the coming weeks. I hope this video and pantry challenge has been a help to you, and I would love to have you become part of our community here at Blooming Wildwood Homestead by subscribing and engaging in the different videos that I put out each week. Until next time, bye everyone.